It all started when I got a call from my sister, Lily. She was down with something nasty, and being family, I had to make the drive to her place up on the mountain. Now, it's not the sort of trip I usually look forward to, winding roads and all, but family comes first, right? So there I am driving my old car up the mountain, the sky's turning shades of orange and red, and I figure I should make it to Lily's before dark. But you know how these things go. Murphy's Law and all that. Just when I'm thinking I'll be there in no time, my car starts acting up, sputtering and coughing like it's got a bad case of the flu. Now, I ain't no mechanic, but I know enough to get by. Checked the gas and the engine, and everything seemed fine. But my old girl just wouldn't budge. I'm stuck on the side of the road, the sun dipping below the horizon, and all I can think about is how Lily's probably waiting for me, wondering where the heck I am. Just my luck, right? I'm scanning the area, looking for any signs of life when I spot this dimly lit gas station up ahead. Like a beacon in the dark, it is. Now, I'm not one to jump at shadows, but this place, it had a vibe, a feeling that sent shivers down my spine. I pull my car into the station, gravel crunching under my tires. The place looked like it hadn't seen a fresh coat of paint in decades. Flickering neon lights, buzzing bugs, the works, but beggars can't be choosers, right? I figure I'll ask if they got a mechanic or something. I step out of my car and slam the door shut, and the sound echoes through the stillness of the mountain night. I walk towards the station, and as I get closer, I notice something odd. There ain't a single soul in sight. No attendant, no other cars, just an eerie quiet. I open the creaky door, a bell jingles overhead, and the smell hits me. That old musty scent of a place untouched by time, the kind that lingers in your nostrils and makes you wonder what stories the walls could tell. Inside, it's dimly lit, and the fluorescent lights flicker like they're on their last legs. I call out, "Hello?" No response. I figure maybe the attendant's out back or something, so I make my way to the counter. That's when I noticed the odd assortment of snacks, dusty magazines, and a cash register that probably hadn't seen a sale in years. I ring the bell on the counter, hoping to get someone's attention. A door swings open at the back, and this guy steps out. Old fella with a face etched by time and a pair of eyes that look like they'd seen it all. "Can I help you?" he asks, and I tell him about my car trouble. He nods like he expected as much and points to a toolbox in the corner. Says I can use it, at no charge. I thank him, still feeling that strange vibe, and head back outside to give my car the once-over. Now, I ain't no expert with a wrench, but I can manage the basics. Pop the hood, check the spark plugs, and maybe give the battery a little love. I'm knee-deep in grease and grime when I hear this noise. It's faint at first, like a distant echo, but it's there. A low, rhythmic chanting. I look around, thinking maybe someone's playing a prank on me, but there ain't a soul in sight. Just the dark, towering trees and the mountains looming in the distance. The chanting gets louder, and it's like it's coming from all directions. I shake it off, figuring it's just the wind or some critters making noise. I get back to work on my car, and that's when I notice something else. The stars. They ain't right, like they're dancing or flickering in a pattern that makes no sense. I try to ignore it and focus on the car, but the chanting, the stars, it's messing with my head. I finish up as fast as I can, toss the toolbox back in the station, and decide it's time to get the heck out of there. I thank the old man, who just nods like he knew I'd be on my way. I step back into my car, and as I start it up, the chanting reaches a crescendo. Louder, more intense, like a chorus of voices that ain't quite right. I peel out of there, tires screeching on the gravel, and as I glance back at the gas station in my rearview mirror, I see the old man standing in the doorway, watching me go. His eyes, they ain't just old, they're ancient, like he's seen things from another time. I drive like the devil's chasing me, putting as much distance between me and that gas station as I can. The chanting fades, the stars go back to normal, and I finally make it to Lily's place. She's surprised to see me so late, but I don't tell her the whole story. I figure she's got enough on her plate. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. I've tried to forget about that gas station, the chanting, the stars, but it's like a splinter in my mind, like I stumbled upon something I wasn't meant to see. I've asked around and tried to find others who've been up that mountain, but nobody seems to know what I'm talking about. It's like the gas station ain't even there, like it vanished into thin air. I've driven that road again, during the day, just to see if maybe I imagined the whole thing. But there's no gas station, no old man, just a stretch of road winding through the mountains. I don't know what I stumbled up on that night, but I can't shake the feeling that it ain't something meant for the likes of me. So here I am, telling my story to whoever will listen. Maybe someone out there has been through the same thing, or maybe I'm just losing my marbles. All I know is that gas station up on the mountain. It's etched in my memory like a scar. And I can't help but wonder what secrets it holds, hidden away in the quiet corners of the night.
So there I was, minding my own business behind the counter at the store. The night was dragging on, and it was one of those nights when the silence hung heavy, and the hum of the refrigerator felt like your only companion. The bell above the door jingled, and in walked a man. He was a regular, or at least I'd seen him around a few times. Wore a worn-out jacket, and his eyes seemed to carry the weight of the world. He grabbed a cup of instant noodles and made his way to the counter, paying with a crumpled bill. Nothing out of the ordinary, right? But here's where things start to get strange. The man, he didn't just head straight out after buying his noodles. Nope. He went to the little table we had outside and started eating. Now, most folks grab and go, especially at this time of night, but not him. I watched him through the window, slurping noodles under the flickering light. I was the only one working that night, and the loneliness was starting to get to me. So I figured, why not? I shut the cash register, flipped the sign to back in a minute, and stepped outside for a chat. He looked up as I approached, noodles hanging from his mouth and a sort of sadness in his eyes. We got to talking, about nothing in particular at first. The weather, the town, the usual small talk. Then he dropped a bombshell. Turns out, he used to be the manager at the gas station just down the road. Said he had some wild times there, especially one night when the place got robbed. According to him, he stood his ground, drove the robbers away, and saved the day. Now, I ain't one to gossip, but that was a tale worth hearing. We chatted a bit more, him reminiscing about the old gas station days, and me soaking in the conversation like it was the highlight of my night. Eventually, he finished his noodles, tossed the empty cup in the trash, and with a nod, he walked off into the night. The next morning, my supervisor came in, and I couldn't resist telling her about my late-night encounter. I was all excited, thinking I had a great story to share, but the look on her face, it turned my excitement into confusion. She told me that the gas station down the road had indeed been robbed in the past, but the manager, the very one who stood his ground, had paid the ultimate price. He didn't make it out alive. Now, here I am, left with a chilling realization. The man I talked to that night, the one who shared stories of courage and defiance, couldn't have been the gas station manager from back in the day. That manager lost his life in that very store, defending it from those robbers. I can't shake the feeling that I spoke to someone or something that night, wearing the guise of a man who once faced danger. The loneliness that drove me outside turned into a different kind of chill, and now, every creak in the store feels like a whisper from a presence unseen. So, here's my tale, a strange encounter on the night shift that's left me questioning the thin line between the living and whatever else might be lingering in the shadows of the night. Hey there, folks. It's Rachel, a 22-year-old college student majoring in nursing. I've never been much of a storyteller, but something happened to me a while back, and I can't shake the feeling that I need to share it with you all. It's a little weird, a little creepy, and definitely has me questioning everything. So, it was a rainy night, and I had just finished my shift at the hospital. The kind of rain that soaks you through in seconds. I'm talking about the kind of rain that makes you question every decision you've ever made, especially the one not to bring an umbrella. I trudged along, my sneakers squelching with every step. The only solace was the soft glow of the streetlights, their reflections shimmering in the puddles. I was about halfway home when the rain transformed from an annoying drizzle to a torrential downpour. In seconds, I was drenched. The hair I had painstakingly straightened that morning now clung to my face in wet tendrils. I saw a gas station up ahead and figured I could at least take refuge under the awning until the rain let up. I darted inside, the door chiming at my entrance. The cashier barely looked up from his magazine. Miserable night, huh? I mustered a half smile, nodded, and headed to the snacks aisle. As I browsed the chip selection, I heard a faint sound, almost drowned out by the rain pelting the roof. A voice, weak, called out, "Help!" Startled, I looked around and saw an old woman by the magazine stand, struggling to get up from the floor. Without hesitation, I rushed over to help her. "Thank you, dearie," she said, her voice shaky. She introduced herself as Mrs. Turner and explained that she had slipped into a puddle. I helped her to her feet and made sure she was okay. As Mrs. Turner steadied herself, she looked at me with a peculiar intensity. "You have a good heart, young lady. Remember that." I thanked her, and after a brief exchange, she hobbled out into the rain, disappearing into the night. The cashier glanced over, uninterested as if he hadn't witnessed any of it. Feeling a bit shaken, I resumed my snack selection, my thoughts lingering on the strange encounter. But hey, I didn't think much of it at the time. Just a weird encounter on a weird night, right? The rain showed no signs of letting up, so I decided to call a cab. As I stood outside the gas station, waiting, I felt a sudden chill down my spine. It was like a whisper in my ear, a soft warning that something wasn't right. The cab arrived and I hopped in, the feeling of unease lingering. As we drove, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been in this exact situation before. The rain, the gas station, the cab, it all felt eerily familiar. Déjà vu, right? This sense of familiarity continued to haunt me in the following weeks. Everyday occurrences triggered a sense of recognition. A certain song on the radio, a passing conversation, even the patterns raindrops made on my window. It was like I was living in a loop. As the déjà vu moments intensified, so did the feeling of impending danger. I started second-guessing every decision I made, wondering if it was a premonition of some sort. I became hyper-aware of my surroundings, looking for signs and trying to decipher the cryptic messages in my subconscious. One night, as I walked home from the hospital, the déjà vu hit me like a tidal wave. I saw it all play out. The gas station, the cab, the rain. Only this time, it wasn't just a feeling of familiarity. It was a warning. My heart raced as I realized the danger was imminent. I tried to change my route, but everything seemed to conspire against me. The rain intensified, the streets became deserted, and I felt a growing sense of dread. And then it happened. As I turned the corner, I saw the flashing lights of an ambulance near the gas station. The cab I had envisioned in my déjà vu was overturned, the driver being loaded onto a stretcher. The same scene played out before my eyes, eerily mirroring my premonition. I stood there, frozen, the rain masking my tears. Mrs. Turner's words echoed in my mind. "You have a good heart, young lady. Remember that." Was this a gift or a curse? I had no answers. So, here I am, sharing this story with you all, hoping someone out there might make sense of it. Maybe you've experienced something similar, or maybe you'll be a little more cautious during a rainy night. Just remember, sometimes déjà vu isn't just a glitch in the matrix. It might be your mind's way of warning you about the storms that lie ahead.